many people who take care of a diverse patient population have perhaps noticed that Black women can be a little more sensitive than other groups about their hair and their hair problems. And there's a good reason for that, because there's a history. And I think it's important that people know that if they are going to be taking care of people's hair, taking care of their hair loss, or just even caring for their hair when they're not having a problem, why that might be so. And this also has an impact on the health, the hair health of Black women, and also their health in general, because it actually there's some research that shows that because of their concern with hair issues, Black women don't exercise as much, and they're affected more by obesity. So one thing you should know is that kinky hair is more delicate and takes more work to groom. So when people are confronted with the possibility of sweating and having to get their hair dirty and needing to shampoo it more frequently, they may skip the gym or skip the swim, which would be helpful for their health overall. But that has to do with the hair. That's a hair issue. Hair of traditional African texture is judged as bad hair in our society. We have judgments about hair, and Black women's hair is on the wrong end. Men don't get judged as much by their looks. Men can shave their heads and still be considered attractive. But women are judged by their crown of glory. And Black women's crown is considered wrong. It's considered bad. And so that has an impact on how they feel about themselves. It has an impact on what they have to do to make their hair acceptable and to be acceptable and treated well in society. And this goes back for centuries. So back in the 18th century in New Orleans, there was a law called the Tignon Law, which required all Black women, whether they were enslaved or free, to cover their hair. And this was meant to diminish Black women's style and status. It was really aimed at the free Black women. They had a style that was sort of ornate and attractive. There was a lot of mixing. This was, they were attracting everyone with their style. And so in order to keep that under control, all Black women had to cover their hair. And, really controlling Black women's hair is something that we're still dealing with in the 21st century. I mean, only in the past few years have we actually had laws to protect Black people from having their natural hair texture at school and at jobs. If you look it up, there is a law that is going around the country called the Crown Act. I was proud that my city was one of the first to adopt the Crown Act. And that was a law that basically said that you could not deny people employment or put people out of school because of their hairstyle. And it was really aimed at people who were just not straightening their hair, people who were wearing their hair kinky, curly, people who wore braids or dreadlocks, which are styles that are appropriate for someone who has a certain texture of hair. And so if you're not allowed to wear the style that suits your hair texture, in order to be considered professional or allowed to go to school, that's pretty serious discrimination. I mean, and then that puts people in a position where they start doing hair grooming practices that might not be healthy, which is why a lot of Black women get CCCA. So just to put it in perspective, imagine if for white people, it were considered unprofessional to come to work with pale skin, that you had to have a tan to be considered professional at work. And people didn't care if you put yourself at risk going to a tanning booth and putting yourself at risk of cancer, or having to spend money and rub chemicals on yourself to make your skin darker in order to be considered acceptable and okay. So that would be a comparison. So, we would consider that unacceptable and wrong. And that's what Black women have been dealing with for centuries and continue to deal with in many parts of the country. But luckily we're having some reform. But this is a real thing that affects how people interact with hair care professionals, their doctors, and, building trust. So, and sometimes the people that they go to for help are not familiar with how to take care of their texture of hair. We are a minority group, so everyone is not familiar as to what to do. Our training, we are working on that in dermatology to have more diversity in people's overall training so that any dermatologist knows how to take care of everyone, that people don't have to just specialize in certain ethnic groups. And so I would say, if you're a professional, don't take it personally if you're regarded with some skepticism, or someone, a black woman is asking you a lot of questions, because the experience historically and even in modern times, has been that people don't understand your hair and people negatively judge your hair. So it's important to know about that if you're going to be a hair expert, hair care, hair loss in a diverse society.
Move my feet closer to yours, catch my breath and I say, I'm the one you're looking for. So come on, dance a little dance. Take my hand, darling, take a chance. You be my queen, I'll be your king. Show you everything that you've been missing, shorty. So come on, dance a little dance. Got me in a trance in just one glance, so don't wait no more.